Grant Cardone is paying retail for his buildings. The difference between us is that we're paying under market value for our buildings, rehabbing them, re-renting them, stabilizing them, and then refinancing and getting most of your money out. So essentially, our strategy is better. And I've watched videos with a lot of the same people that were saying that they're like, man, I should have bought more stabilized assets, or I should have bought more A-class trophy properties. And it's interesting because I remember somebody commenting on Grant Cardone's post at some point saying, oh, Grant Cardone doesn't know what he's doing. My response was, he just has a strategy that you don't understand because his play is much bigger than the play that everybody else is doing at the present moment, basically.
Yeah. And, I've participated, with Grant, and I can just tell you that, in the 5 years that I have, he's never missed a distribution, not once. He really is a world-class operator. He's just delivered over an extended period of time where others haven't. And he's super transparent. He's on the calls all the time. You could ask him whatever you want. He also has this distinct competitive advantage where, let's say he did own something where the rates, he had an adjustable, let's say, rate on a building that he purchased, and then it's time to refinance. Well, most of these syndicators don't have the capacity to raise $100 million in 90 days and just pay the loan off. Yeah, and the whole game is to keep the asset, because if you keep the asset, 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now, it's going to be worth way more money, right? So he actually did that recently on a deal in Miami, and he added Bitcoin to it. So it's a little bit different of a strategy, but he still had the capacity to pay off that note. I think, again, the keys here, like mental maps, right? If you're following along, is like, hey, if you're not making more than $250 a year, don't even think about investing and, trying to buy a duplex. Like, don't do that. Spend all your time, energy, effort, and resources getting proximity, getting guidance, getting coaching, getting training, attending, being a part of masterminds so you can improve your ability to earn more money, right? Make yourself more valuable, because you don't get more because you want more, you get more because you become more. Once you start to get to that level, that 250-ish, 300 level, you should have, if you're living modestly, now you actually have some money to invest. And then the decision is, like Jose said, you could either be active or you could be passive.
And I'm trying to think about what are some of the things, because there's some syndicators that are going up, and I'm like, okay, what are the patterns of the syndicators that are going belly up or just walking away from buildings? And I'm thinking okay, one, I'm guessing that they didn't have a significant amount of their own money into the deal. That makes it easier for somebody to walk away from a building. And that's something that Grant Cardone does have, where on a lot of the buildings, he's got a significant amount of his own capital. Not only that, Grant Cardone has the ability not only to raise capital, but to make capital as well, too, through some of the successful companies that he has. So in some cases, he's got $25 million in a building. The other thing that I was noticing is maybe the syndicator, it's his first round of raising capital. They went to a course, they took a class, got a spreadsheet, and oh my God, this makes so much sense. And they basically went to investors, raised money, and bought the deal. But they haven't been through a couple of rounds. They haven't been through any real estate cycles. And I think that that's important, being through different real estate cycles, because unfortunately in real estate, just like other asset classes, real estate markets change and markets change, how did they respond in previous market corrections to their investors, and how do they treat their investors during other corrections? So new syndicators, no track record.
And then the other one I would add to that is you have to be a world-class operator when things get challenging. So you have to be really, really, world-class operators will fight with the city to lower their taxes. World-class operators will figure out ways to increase revenue and decrease expenses in some capacity. You know what I mean? They'll aggressive and intentionally and purposely do that. And then the last one I would propose is again, because the 10X.
How can you be a world-class operator if you don't have any assets?
Yeah. And if you haven't been through multiple cycles of ups and downs, what I'm saying? So I think one of the reasons why I'm able, specifically now with what's going on in the marketplace for residential resale, to add a lot of value is because I sold real estate in 2008, 9, and 10 and produced very favorable outcomes. Grew my business 25% year over year, did no short sales, no REOs. And at the end of 5 years was doing 100 deals a year, right? So being an operator in multiple different cycles, that's what makes you a world-class operator, right? So I think what we're saying here to everybody, I know that I will have this conversation with people And again, there's the two paths. I can either be active or I could be passive. And I do see that most people choose the active route. I really do. And then what I also see happens.
It's sexier, bro.
Yeah, it's sexier, bro. Just to be like, oh, I own X amount of units. And like, isn't that? I also see it truthfully, like in many ways, like you're an exception. Because what I do see is when people do the active route, it ends up taking time away and they spend hours of their time for something that pays them $500 a month instead of focusing on their, residential resale business or creative kind of doing deals that they could make hundreds of thousands of dollars with the same amount of time, energy, and effort.
Well, I think the reason why too is they're trying to save money on the littlest things.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's actually costing them money.
Explain
Meaning
what you mean.
I was talking to a gentleman yesterday and he was talking about like how he owns a couple rental properties. He goes out and leases the property himself. He's going out there managing the subcontractors. He's going out there keeping track. It was almost like when I started flipping properties. When I started flipping properties, I was going out there and picking things because the contractor didn't have the capacity or the skills to do that. And what I realized is that my business real estate was dropping and I made a profit on the flip. But had I just stuck to selling real estate in high volume, I would have made way more than that during the time that I spent on the flip. So I still flip, but I just structured it where I have zero to do in the construction process. And I delegated that whole part where it takes up very little mind space. But I think for most people, they want the whole pie. They don't know how to delegate and they try to save money. But in reality, if you factor in your time, it's actually costing you a lot of money.
Until you are earning like $250,000 a year in GCI or in revenue that you're generating, whether it's from creative deals or retail, like you shouldn't even be thinking about investing in anything other than yourself.